Hello and welcome to the Christian Union's event Fortnight. It's our third event and we're so glad you could join us. I'm Amber.
And I'm Rob. And we've been your hosts and will continue to be our hosts for this event's Fortnight. So, Amber, what has tonight all been all about?
Good question, Rob. First, let me grab something and see what you think. This is to you at home.
What have you been doing? Have you been training to become a sumo wrestler?
Not exactly.
Okay. Well, you got a sieve.
Yes.
And something to flip. Have you had a belated pancake party?
Well, I haven't yet, but I will. Actually, good question. What is your favourite topping, Rob?
Oh, I'd say a bit of Nutella with some strawberries on the top.
Okay. I would say Nutella as well, but I think I like bananas as well.
Oh, but actually, a good contender is just classic. Lemon with sugar. You can't beat it.
No, I have to give you that one. Definitely lemon and sugar.
Very true.
Great. Well, if you haven't guessed, I've been baking. Yes, that's right, with Impact Group. Shout out Impact Group. We were baking for tonight's #WeTime.
That's right. Tonight, I hope you've been creatively working together in your little community, either making something beforehand or after. Maybe you've been baking, like us, or you have had a belated pancake party, which, I mean, if you have, then lucky you. Or maybe you've been playing online games. There's a whole host of things. Let us know in the comments what you plan or have been doing.
Yeah, sounds great. Please do let us know, especially in the YouTube comments and definitely on our Instagram, which is @elborough_cu.
Great. Well, tonight is very chilled and relaxed, and so you're very, very welcome. Tonight we actually do have a special guest who's becoming a familiar face at Loughborough CU, and we love him dearly. It's Graham Daniels who's going to come speak to us again.
We love you, Graham.
With the title of his talk being, "Where Can I Find Community?"
Wow, and if it's anything like the talk that we heard on Monday, then I'm sure it will be great. And yeah, just to discover more of who Jesus Christ is, and I'm really excited for that.
Cool. Well, we look forward to seeing what you guys are going to get up to. As well as the talk now. So think of some questions maybe that you have, that he brings up. You can discuss them with whoever has brought you to the event, and keep them lodged in for this next little bit of time. Have a little think about them.
Awesome. So with all of that said, let's hand over to Graham.
Great.
Our theme this evening is that Jesus offers amazing community. In Luke's account of the life of Jesus, there's an incredible chapter, the 14th chapter, if you read the book. It is incredible. Let me start it for you. You'll get a feel of it. This is how it starts. Verse 1 of the chapter. One Sabbath, when Jesus went to eat in the house of a prominent Pharisee, what a line this is, he was being carefully watched. Here's the setting. Jesus is invited to dinner at the house of the top drawer religious authorities, some of them, called the Pharisees. And all we're told by the author of this book, Luke, who gleaned his material from eyewitnesses who were there, they were watching Jesus. We haven't got time to go through this whole chapter of the book today, but if you get to read it and you look at verses 2 through to 14, you'll see 3 separate occasions when Jesus stirs it up, causes an awkward discussion, tells a tricky story. All of the 3 stories are really having a dig at the religious authorities. Oh my word, it would have been tense. Unbelievably tense. By the way, don't think of Jesus as weak and soft. When you read stories like these, you see he is so firm when he knows something's right. he goes for it. At the end of those 3 little interactions that Luke records for us, there's a story that I'm going to focus on today. And it is a focus about authentic community, amazing community, and how you and I can belong to Jesus' community. And you may say, steady on. Oh, stay with me. Come on, think about it with me. Could you belong to the community of Jesus Christ? Because that's what the church is. Jesus' people. If you're at all interested, stick with this story because he shows how it works. And I think you'll have a surprise. Here it goes. Somebody can't bear it. There's so much tension in the air in this dinner party that there's always a nice person who tries to calm it right down, okay? And here's what somebody says. It's the 14th chapter of Luke's account and the 15th verse. When one of those at the table with him heard the discussion, he said to Jesus, "Blessed is the one who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God." He tries to make the peace. That phrase he uses is a typical phrase that they would use in religious settings when they met together in the synagogue. Blessed is the one who will eat at the feast in the kingdom of God. It's kind of like saying, hey guys, we're all in this together, aren't we? I mean, we've got one God and we're all invited to meet with him, dine with him, be part of his community. We're fine, aren't we? Come on, let's not fall out. Right? That's the tone of voice in the midst of the tension of the dinner party when all Jesus' enemies are against him. What will Jesus do? Will he say, yeah, that's right. That's right. Come on, we don't need to be having an argument about this. Not a chance. You see, Jesus stands for the truth. And the only community he's willing to build is one of truth. So he will not find some way of acquiescing to majority vote here. So he just blanks him. I mean, he really doesn't answer the statement at all. Blessed is the one who will eat at the feast of the kingdom of God. Come on, Jesus. It's a bit tense. We're all in the same boat, aren't we? Everybody's in, aren't they? We're all God's people, aren't we? And then Jesus says this. He just tells a story. He just cuts across, tells a story. Jesus replied, a certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to tell those who had been invited, come, for everything is now ready. So this is his response to the peacemaker. He says, hey, friends, this guy threw a great big banquet, right? Rich guy threw a banquet, invited everybody. And when the time came for the banquet to begin, for the party to begin, he sent somebody to tell people, hey, by the way, don't forget tonight, coming to the party, aren't you? You know you're invited. You're all invited. And of course, there's no WhatsApp or texts or FaceTime or Instagram. So you've got to have the nerve to tell somebody to their face that you're not coming in this period. So this is what happens next. In the story, Jesus tells his opponents. He says they all alike began to make excuses when the invite came. And then he gives 3 the worst excuses you can imagine. And they're meant to be rubbish excuses, right? Here they are. The first person who was invited said to the person who came to say, don't forget it's tonight, I've just bought a field and I must go and see it. Please excuse me from this evening. Seriously, if he's bought a field, he's not going to see it now, is he? Obviously. You pay the money when you've seen the field. He's adding to his possessions. He's bought a field. He's blagging. When the specific invitation comes, he's a blagger. Oh, I'd love to come. Oh, I'll be there. Spot on. And then the crunch comes and he goes, oh, so struggling, mate. You ever had those WhatsApp, struggling, mate? No, I don't want to come. They're all rubbish excuses. Here's the second one, the next line of the story. Imagine Jesus telling these stories to people. Another said, I've just bought 5 yoke of oxen and I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me. Now, the only reason you're buying oxen, an ox, lots of oxen, the only reason you're buying them, right, is because they work your fields, they plough your fields, they pull the machinery to plough the field. So that's why you buy them. See, listen now, there's no way you're going to buy oxen until you've seen them and then you pay for them. You're not having it. So you see what, this is like a joke story. Oh, blessed is everybody who's religious, because we all really believe the same thing, and no one's really against you. Jesus, come on, let's be nice with each other. Let's build a community. And Jesus goes, yeah, splendid. I tell you what then, there was this guy, right? And he was brilliant. I mean, he could invite anybody and everybody. He had room for everybody, and he invited everybody. But you know what happened, boys, girls? When the crunch came, they went, struggling, and their excuses were rubbish. And now, you're never going to say, I just bought 5 oxen. Obviously, right? You're not going to. But you get the gist of this, don't you? And here's the last one. And this is like comedy value, huge. Still another said, always threes, aren't there? Groups of 3 for fun. Here's a third. Still another said, I just got married, so I can't come. Mate, seriously, when you got the invite, you knew you were getting married. And you said, yeah, I'll be there. You liar. You liar, pants on fire. Rubbish excuses. Shocking excuses. So that's what's going on here. And Jesus is telling the story. Why? Because he's saying, don't pretend that you're interested in the things of God. Because I'm telling you, when the crunch comes, I've arrived here. I'm telling you that God invites people into a relationship with him. What you don't like is that I'm saying you've got to come through me, through Jesus Christ. And now you're all backpedaling. And in fact, you're against me. Oh, could you imagine? It would be electric in this room. These are the big hitters in this society. These are the leaders of government and religion. They run the ship. And he takes them on. And he says, there's the terms of coming to the great party, the great banquet, the great community. Here's the terms. My terms. Not your terms. So don't you dare diss me and try and mock me and try and get me to dinner to take the mickey out of me. It's my way or the highway. Oh my gosh. What an incredible man this one is. But the story's not finished. He says, when everybody said they couldn't come, who said they would? It says this, the servant came back and reported to his master, i.e., they've all blanked you. Then the owner of the house became angry. Note that word, angry, and ordered his servant, go out quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, and the lame. Now let's get this clear. In this culture, obviously, no social security. And if you couldn't work, you had to beg. If your family didn't provide for you, you had to beg. But you were allowed to live within the city limits, if you like, within the town walls, and beg. You could beg on the streets. So you're allowed to do that. So Jesus says, right, the people who think they have the right to go to any party they choose, fine. They're refusing mine. Go and tell people who'd never be invited to a really nice party. Go and tell them. Go and get them. Tell them to come. They'd never be invited to this dinner party I'm in now, would they? So let's get them, shall we? The people who are hungry to come, want to come, who do with food in their bellies, actually aren't full of arrogance, don't think they're big time, don't need to wind their necks in. Go and call them. So the guy goes. And he comes back and he says, what you ordered has been done. But there's still room. Yeah, I've invited plenty and there's a number coming, but there's still space. So we could ask more people. I don't know what you think, boss. And the master says to the servant, go out to the roads and country lanes and compel them to come in, so my house will be full. Now, listen closely to this. If you had some kind of skin disease that was infectious, COVID would have worked nicely, though it's not a skin disease. I mean, there were lepers, for example, and it would rot your body and you would die. If you had anything like leprosy, you couldn't come into town, obviously. You had to live outside the city walls. You couldn't see anyone. You had to live on your own or with other lepers. Jesus tells this story to the big cheeses of society who look down their noses at him and think that it's his job to fit their terms, not the other way around. He says, well, here's the best story ever. the guy who threw the party went to get lepers and said, come to my house. Well, he didn't touch a leper. No one touched a leper. It made you dirty and it made you sick. Jesus said, I want anybody to come. Get the lepers in. Get the cast outs. Get the people who nobody would ever touch with a barge pole to come to the party. And you had to compel them to come in, it says. Because, of course, if you went to invite a leper to a really nice party in town, he or she would say, no, not a chance. I'll get arrested straight away. What are you doing? Say, no. The boss of town wants you to come. They can't believe it. But that's the point of the story. Now, here's a question. We're almost done with the story, right? Here's the question for you and me. Where are you in this story? What none of us would like to think is, well, I'm not a leper, mate. And none of us want to think with a big-time Charlie who looks down their nose at God and Jesus and says, yeah, listen, fit in with my life, no problem, but I'm not moving for you. Pretty happy to chat about you, go to hear a talk about you. Fine, but you fit into my life, God stuff. The Bible sees us all like that. And funnily enough, it sees us all like the leper living outside the city wall, or the person with nothing to offer living in the streets. It actually sees us as both. In fact, it sees the only human being who ever lived as the right kind of human being, as the Jesus who tells this story. And that's where the story ends, you see, because the story ends with the last line. Jesus looks at the group in the dinner party and says this, I tell you, not one of those who were invited will get a taste of my banquet. And he must have looked straight at them. Not one of those who were invited will get a taste of my banquet. He's saying it to them, isn't he? That's who he's saying it to. He's talking about a dinner party at a dinner party. What a tale. What an amazing tale. What are we to make of it? Here's what the story is trying to tell us, because this is what Jesus is trying to tell us. You and I are invited into Jesus' community. The banquet is free. It's on offer. It's free, but it's not cheap. You know why it's not cheap? Because the one who told this story is the only human being who ever lived a proper life without any rebellion against God at all. The one who told this story went to a cross within a very, very short time of these stories we're reading now. And he died on that cross. And he died instead of the religious, vain, clever know-all who said, God, you fit round me, I don't fit round you. He died for the person who has nothing and who feels they could never ever have a relationship with God because they don't deserve anything. Nobody wants a relationship with somebody like them, the leper, or the person living in the street. The truth is, everybody needs Jesus to have died and beaten death for them, because it is by coming to Jesus that we get access to the greatest community that ever existed, his community. We have to do two things. We have to turn to him and acknowledge that we are failures before God and we have judged God by our own standards and we get him to dance around us. And we have to also say to him, I have no right to come to your community. So we have to turn 180 degrees and say, I'm walking the wrong way. I need to go back the right way. And we need to admit that. And then secondly, of two things, we actually need to believe that Jesus died for me. And because he gave his life for me, and he beat death to show me that by trusting in him, I could enter a brand new community of Jesus and have a brand new start. Oh, it won't stop you being loud if you're loud, or quiet if you're quiet. You know, science, math, or type of person, or an arty person, or a sporty person. Same personality, new starts. Belong to Jesus' community, a Christian. So that's the story going on here, but here's the postscript. You only really know if somebody wants to come when they get a specific invitation. Broad invitations, would you like to come? Yeah, I'm interested, I'm for it. Yeah, wouldn't mind. Yeah, definitely, yeah. But then the specific invitation comes. Are your possessions the most important thing? Is your job the most important thing? Are other relationships the most important thing? Do they get in the way of coming to Jesus? The only way you ever know that is when you're asked specifically, will you come to Jesus above all things? Because he's inviting you into his community. Well, look, only you know the answer to that. In the same way that only I know the answer to the question for myself. I did accept that invitation when I was 21 years of age. I'm 58. It's an awful long time ago. It was the 20th century. I don't deserve to be a Christian. I've no right to be a Christian. But Jesus has welcomed me into his community when I deserve nothing. And if you will respond to the specific invitation to trust him, to turn and trust him, you too will be in the banquet, which begins now and lasts for all of eternity. Worth thinking about, huh?
Well, thank you, Graham. That was a really, really interesting, that we all really, I think the whole idea around community, I think it's something that we all really long for. And so a Jesus community sounds good to me. And we're lucky enough actually at Loughborough to have a budding CU where you can find that community and friendships, and lots of churches around the area.
Which we'd love you to join with us. Yeah, and as we've already been plugging, we would love you to join us afterwards in conversation with the person who brought you along, and to discover these questions more of where can I find community, and answers to these big questions of life. And as we've already said, in the next couple weeks after Events Fortnight, it doesn't stop there, and we are plugging impact groups and explore groups where we can look at community together and what it means to be a Christian.
Yeah, that sounds good, Amber. Well, also, remember our Uncover Mark. It's a great read, and if you're interested, ask the person who has invited you along to get a copy. You can read through together, study, and see what the gospel says.
Sounds great.
Real good opportunity. And tomorrow, guys, we have our lunch bar. It's titled, Is There a Greater Purpose, Achievement and Success? Ooh. It's not something, as a Millwall fan, I know very well. We don't succeed and we never achieve anything. But I'm excited.
Great, me
I'm
too.
excited for it. Well, guys, thank you for your engagement tonight. Remember to tag us in anything that you put on your Instagram story. And I guess we will see you tomorrow and for our other events.
That's right. Bye.
Bye, guys.